I got this one here, so when the kids run by, you don't see them. But, although they're fun.
Right.
Yeah. And mine is basically the lake in Oklahoma I'd rather be at than anything else.
Oh, me too. I would like to be at your lake too.
Great.
Yeah, I'm good.
Zoom's pretty easy to make a virtual background if you guys want to do it. Just take your favorite picture, drop your logo on, and then save it. You can do it.
Well, I have it in Teams, but we don't use Zoom where we are, so I haven't done it in Zoom.
Well, all right. Well, everybody, welcome to the Native CDFI Network's weekly Friday call. Thank you for joining us, for all our Native CDFIs and our partners and our allies across the country. We're really excited about this week's version, this week's episode. And this week we've invited the USDA, and we partnered with Oweesta Corporation and to bring forward some new resources that we'd like to highlight for our members. And those are the Business and Industry CARES Act and the One RD Loan Guarantee Initiative. And so thank you, Oweesta, for connecting us, and we're joined by Crystal Langholtz. And thank you, USDA, for connecting us. And Ted Buelow was really a linchpin to help make this happen. So thank you. We're going to change up our organization today. So we'll go through some quick news, and then we'll go through some announcements. And we're fortunate to be joined by Oweesta, and they have a few announcements, and we have a few more. And then we'll get into the meat of the conversation and what we all came here for. So thank you. And before we get going too far, we have a couple Native CDFI Network board members on the call, and I wanted to see if they had any thoughts or words they want to share. Also, our board chairman, Pete Upton.
Hey, Jackson, yeah, I'd like to thank Oweesta and USDA for, partnering with us or including us in on this project. It's very much needed. I did ask Christopher Coburn. Christopher's very active in his community working with the USDA. So Christopher, if you have a few words, it'd be great.
Mainly I'm just excited. Native CDFIs are so important because we've got so many clients that are tied to the land. Knowing what USDA offers and its various programs, whether it's conservation side, RD side, business and cooperative program side, new things, we really need to be a partner because, they're tasked for a federal level with stewardship, and they've got financial resources that our clients need. We have the financial acumen and access to clients that they may need to deploy those things. So it's a natural synergy. And I've been asking for this type of topic to happen. And in our region, in the Southern Plains region of NCN, we're just winding up a conversation of about 10 weeks of webinars about this with Muskogee Fund and other partners. So excited about what can be here, eager to learn from Ted, eager to learn from Jackie and the other presenters. But Native CDFIs are very important, and this is a great federal partner that we need to work with more. So looking at that and hoping for ability for certified Native CDFIs in the future to participate in guaranteed loan products. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Bill. And we will continue moving. And for some reason my video isn't showing up, but I think we'll be able to go through the news really quickly this week. There isn't that much news. Congress is out until September, and there is a little headway on any negotiations, I guess any compromise between the Democrats and Republicans on another COVID bill. We've steadfast along with our partners like the Opportunity Finance Network in advocating and making sure that Native CDFIs are included, and the CDFI fund is funded at a level proportionate in response to this global pandemic and economic downturn. But right now there isn't much news. I think everybody's seen the news about the DNC this past week, And next week the RNC is meeting, and hence Congress is out. So I'll leave it at that. I think this is an interesting piece of news. I think we highlight. So we know who the Treasury Department runs the Treasury Department now, but it's worth, I guess, folks are talking about who would run the Treasury Department if a Biden administration wins. Folks are talking about Elizabeth Warren, although she would have to resign from the Senate. So that was kind of one of the folks here, and something to think about. I know that I don't think Ted, because actually I don't think Dave Castillo is on the call today, but here's something that Dave Castillo and some of the New Mexico CDFIs did last week, and that was they joined a call for Native or all CDFIs in New Mexico with their representative Deb Holland, and so that was great. And this is somebody that's been a friend to us, and somebody we will probably see a bit more. So really excited. Wanted to share that, and thanks to Dave for highlighting that. One other really quick piece of news: the CDFI funded Community Advisory Board's meeting on August 27th, so that's Thursday of next week. NCN will be joining their virtual panel, and we encourage you, if you have input on items you would like to highlight, particularly Native CDFI's response to COVID and their impact on our operations, please let me know. And please let me know by Monday so that we can include them in our comments. Also, the board chairman, the chairman for the advisory board is Shane Jett, someone everybody knows here, who's really champion for Native CDFIs. So pause right there for news, and really see no discussion. I'll continue to move forward. And as always, if you have any questions, please type them into the box. And so before we get going through with some announcements, like I said, we're fortunate to be joined by Oweesta and Crystal Langholtz, their Chief Operations Officer. And Crystal is someone I think that everybody in the Native CDFI world knows, and someone who's started and run her own Native CDFI and then gone to work at the Oweesta Corporation. So I want to first pause and hand it over to Crystal to see if she has any announcements from Oweesta. Thanks, Crystal.
Thanks so much, Jackson. Yeah, thanks. It's been fun to partner on this call, and we have a great relationship with the USDA. And so I'm really excited about the 1RD guarantee program and how that's going to streamline and create access for Native CDFI. So this is a dream come true to have this conversation with y'all today. Did want to, since I was getting to have the opportunity to kind of catch everybody up on some things that are happening to Oweesta, I couldn't pass up the opportunity to just share a few things. So you all should have seen the announcement that went out from us over the last couple of weeks, but today's the last day to apply for our Native Agriculture Underwriting School that's going on this fall. It's going to be a 9-week intensive training program on agricultural underwriting with the Center for Farm Financial Management. And so we're really excited about that. We were going to have in-person meetings like a year ago, and then COVID happened. And so anyway, we're really excited that we're getting to do it now, and we're going to be doing it virtually. So please don't lose the opportunity to sign up for that. It'd be a great opportunity to train loan officers or to grow if you're interested in growing your agricultural lending program. Great for that. Just some other things to quickly highlight that are coming down the pike at Oweesta. You'll see some announcements going out the next few weeks over that, but we have a couple re-granting programs and technical assistance programs coming out this fall. One will be for CDFIs that are doing small business technical assistance in response to COVID. That'll just be a small re-granting program. There'll be grants coming out from Oweesta. for CDFIs doing that work. So look for that announcement, and don't forget to apply for that. They won't be very large grants, probably around 10,000, but every little bit helps. We're trying to bring as much money as we can to our Native CDFIs at the grassroots level, so look for that. We also will have a housing cohort starting this fall that's going to be in-depth technical assistance and training with re-granting small grants to help you accomplish your housing goals. Applications for that will open up in the next couple weeks. And that'll be a shared learning cohort if you are wanting to expand or grow your housing program. If you are a Native CDFI that is emerging or less than 5 million in assets, please don't forget to apply for our emerging grant program, where we match, if you want, let's say you need $50,000 in lending, we can do 25 in grant and 25 in loan. We're lucky to have quite a few folks that have taken us up on that program, but that program is still open and still out there. We are underwriting for it as fast as we can, but that program is out there for our emerging Native CDFIs. And of course, we still have capital available if you have growing capital needs in response to COVID-19 or just in general. We've done a lot to lower our cost of capital over the last 6 months. And so we are getting out capital as basically as affordably as humanly possible. And we have a lot of new loan products. So that includes, for example, we have a line of credit now available for Native CDFIs and a bunch of really creative loan products. And all of our, we have all of our loan programs on interest forgiveness till December. And we would probably extend that depending on how COVID-19 continues to shake out in your community on an individual basis. So very affordable capital to help you lower your cost of capital and get money out into your community. So those are my quick 5 minutes announcements. I don't want to take away from our RD conversation, so I'll cede the floor, but I just wanted to let you all know that some of those programs are coming out here in the next few weeks, and to just keep, if you're not on our listserv, please do for newsletters so you get those announcements from us. Okay, much love. I'm gonna be quiet now.
Well, great. Thank you, Crystal. That was great, and always great to have you on, and always great to, and thanks for connecting us to make this happen. So, we have a few more announcements we wanted to share too. Native CDFI Network's annual capacity building and policy summit is coming up very soon. We are excited about this, and we're going to announce some of our speakers next week. So really stay tuned. If you are a member Native CDFI, there's a link on our website. Please sign up, and actually attendance is free for member Native CDFIs, so thank you. But this is something we're really excited about. Want to flag another resource with the National Congress of American Indians. They have a grant program for small businesses, and the interesting, I think, noteworthy thing about this is there is no deadline. It's first come, first serve. So if you know folks in your portfolio that would benefit from this, we recommend you getting on it now. And also, thanks to everybody who has completed the NCN Strategic Planning Survey already. We've got more than half of our folks, but today is the deadline. And if you want to contribute your voice to the future direction of the NCN, as well as register for a prize drawing of $500, today is the last day. So please do so today. So thank you. And with that, we'll get to the main event, our friends from the USDA. And again, thanks to Ted Bulow. So Ted is the head of, he's one of 2 national Native coordinators for the USDA. And what I think is interesting and really beneficial for us as Native CDFIs is he comes to the USDA with a background from working at the Treasury at the CDFI fund. And I think as a result of that, he's always remembered to keep Native CDFIs in mind for opportunities as they come up. And that's what we're here for. There are 2 opportunities we wanted to highlight: the Business and Industry CARES Act program and the 1RD loan guarantee. And you think hopefully both of these things are either things that are relevant to you as Native CDFIs or some of your portfolio companies, and hopefully they are able to take advantage of these. So Ted and the rest of the USDA team, including Jackie Ponte Lazarick, their head innovations officer, and then Aaron Morris. Thank you for joining us. So I'll hand it over to you, Ted. Thanks.
Well, thanks so much, Jackson. My name is Ted Bulow, and I want to thank the Native CDFI Network and Oweesta for working with this opportunity on us and for giving us the chance to talk about these two exciting opportunities. To take Jackson's introduction a bit further, not only am I an advocate for CDFIs from my time at Treasury and through the support that rural development is able to provide Native CDFIs and other community lenders, I really think it's the best way for us to have an impact on communities, locally led loan funds that are making decisions for their community, with their community, and investing in their community. It's been a tremendous partnership with rural development and Native CDFIs over the years. So not only am I an advocate, I'm a firm believer, and will take that with me probably till the day I die. So it's a pleasure to be here today, and nice to see so many familiar faces and names in the of the participants. We're going to cover two things, and we'll let Jackie and Aaron cover the nuts and bolts, but I want to plant a few seeds for you to think about as we're going through the slides. First, we'll cover the 1RD Guarantee Initiative, which was recently announced and goes into effect on October 1st. The agency is really excited about this. We think it's going to make it easier for lenders to participate in our program. We think it's going to make it easier on customers to participate with those lenders in our programs. So we're really excited about that streamlining effort, which Jackie will talk about in a moment. We're going to highlight some language for non-regulated lenders. Most Native CDFIs, if you're not regulated by the OCC or the Federal Reserve Bank or FDIC, would fall into that category. So we want to make you aware of those specific provisions. And remind you that comments are due on that final rule by September 14th. So we invite you and encourage you to look that language over and to make comments. CARES Act program. It's also a great opportunity for lenders. There's a higher percentage of guarantee that's available to lenders. So we're going to see some new lenders move into that program most likely, and there's also non-regulated lender language in the existing regulation for the B&I program, and that will be impacted by the 1RD Guarantee initiative, which goes into effect October 1st. So there's opportunity for lenders there, and there's more opportunities, frankly, for tribal businesses, tribes themselves, tribal member-owned businesses, and tribal corporations to take advantage of that working capital funding through September 30th of 2021. So Aaron's going to get into the weeds about that opportunity, but I just want you to be thinking about that as both Jackie and Aaron are giving their remarks. I'm now pleased to introduce Jackie Ponte Lazarick. She is our Chief Innovation Officer. She's also serving currently as the Chief Risk Management Officer for Rural Development. She's a former assistant administrator of both our water and environmental programs and our telecom programs. I've had the pleasure of working with Jackie for about 15 years now. She's always been a champion for our work with tribes, and she's always been supportive of me and my work in helping build those bridges with tribes. So I thank her for that, and the floor is yours, Jackie.
Thank you, Ted. And it is great to be here today. Thanks so much for the opportunity to talk to you about 1RD Guaranteed. I am Jackie Ponte Lazarick. I am the Chief Innovation Officer for Rural Development. We're a new entity just in the last couple of years, and purpose of our entity is really to help new ideas take shape that will help across rural development. And 1RD is one of those ideas that we were happy to help push forward, but leaders like Aaron, who's on the phone today, will actually ultimately implement. So a big push for 1RD was really to cut red tape and improve program delivery in 4 programs: our water, community facilities, business and industry, and REAP programs, and really to drive participation across all 4. Ultimately, our goal is to create a better experience for our program participants, and as a result, increased capital in rural and tribal areas. From the start, we have put an emphasis on receiving input from our customers, both old, new, and potential customers, so that we're building something that will be of benefit. And we held a number of sessions to gather input. And although our customers identified policy and reg changes that they wanted to see, what really it came down to were 4 things that mattered to our customers, 4 priorities that fell into 4 key areas: consistency, accountability, transparency, and speed of service. So we kept those priorities in the forefront as we developed this regulation. And we worked to incorporate as many of our customer asks as possible, and I think we pretty well got most of them in. And we've taken a holistic approach to this. It's not just about a regulation. It is about the entire customer experience. And so we're looking at automated systems. We're looking at how we communicate. We're looking at customer feedback channels. We're looking at training. So it's a whole delivery of a new experience. And it's happening in phases. And so today we'll talk a little bit about the regulation itself. The new regulation has several significant changes that we'd like to highlight for you today. These are kind of big ticket policy changes. And so wherever possible, the way the regulation is structured is it standardizes provisions across all 4 programs and streamlines the processes. So Ted, we'll go to the next slide. So under 1RD, there is one approach to credit reviews with a focus on reviewing the lender credit evaluation. We're not re-underwriting. The approach is not as prescriptive as the current regulations, but focuses on the 5 C's of credit. There will be one annual notice that will be issued prior to the start of each fiscal year that sets fees and guaranteed percentages for each program. So that gives you some certainty going into the next fiscal year as to what things will cost and how much we'll guarantee program by program. And the guaranteed percentage, although they may vary from program to program, how much we'll guarantee of a loan, there will be one set percentage for each program that will be for all loans, all guarantees in that program for the year. So again, this will give lenders consistency and certainty going into each year. The new regulation also streamlines technical documentation requirements. Having run the water programs, I understand the pain that some of the technical documentation can bring, and extra activity that is around it. If you have a construction project and you're a lender, you're still going to do all of those activities. Under the new reg for us, though, there is no agency prescribed format for the engineering and architectural documents, but the lender must perform due diligence and assume the risk if there is a loss claim. This came out of lender sessions where lenders said, look, we're doing all of this. We will comply with your regulations, but we don't want to go through a complete engineering review. And we said, well, there's risk involved. If you'll sign a certification to that effect, then we would accept that. So you'll see that in the regulation. Environmental regulations still apply. 1RD provides lenders with new and expanded options to better serve customers and business needs. So as requested by lenders, we are offering a way to obtain a guarantee prior to completion of construction. And as a trade-off for that earlier issuance of the guarantee, which increases the risk to the agency, the lenders who opt for this will pay a fee for this option and provide some additional documentation to help mitigate that risk for us. We've provided clarity on secondary market sales, including when the guaranteed portion of the loan can be sold. There's also no longer a limit on the number of promissory notes the lender can issue to borrowers. We've standardized debt refinancing options across the programs where the statute allows, and this impacts CS, water, and the B&I programs. And the regulation also extends the options for debt refinancing, including the refinancing of certain rural hospital debt. And we know that was an important one to a lot of our lenders. The regulation now sets a clear maximum loan size by program. As seen on this slide, the definition of rural is now the same across all 4 programs at a 50,000 population level. And this codifies the changes that were made in the most recent Farm Bill, and it is a major change and an opportunity for our community facilities and water and waste disposal programs that have been at 20,000 and 10,000 respectively in the past. Under 1RD, lenders have a single point of contact for obtaining your lender approval across all 4 programs. So if you're a native CDFI who wants to come in and apply to be a non-traditional lender in the program, you'll go through one process one time at the national office level, and it will cover all 4 programs. It includes regulated and non-regulated lenders, as well as approval for non-regulated lenders serving tribal trust lands. We completed, and let's talk a little bit about this non-regulated lenders. Here's the section here that Ted has put on the screen. You know, we were talking a little bit before the call started. We're trying to be as inclusive as possible. If you know, for regulated lenders, there's not a separate process. For non-regulated lenders, this is the process that you would go through. And the regulation, the rule that has been published is fairly long. A lot of it is preamble, so don't panic. But on page 187 at this citation, there's some clarification about non-regulated lending entities serving tribal trust lands. And you can see here on the screen, there will be some additional requirements. Okay, next slide. So this is a summary of some of the things we've already talked about. 1RD, one process. We're going to have a common application and consistent forms. We've already built those forms, and we are our IT shop is making them into fillable forms. We intend to be faster and more consistent in how we review these applications for guarantees, and we've set a goal internally where we, based on customer input, where we're going to review complete applications and turn them around in 30 days. And once a conditional loan note guarantee is issued, once the conditions are met and a lender files for their loan note guarantee, we are working to a 48-hour turnaround on those. All of this was based on customer feedback sessions. Next slide. We talked about single point lender approvals and additional options for lenders as well. So we worked across RD as a team to complete this regulation. It is now, as Ted mentioned, available. It has been published. It was published on July 14th. It is a final regulation with a comment period. So we had a 60-day comment period that closes September 14th. And we are sincere in wanting to hear from you and your thoughts on the regulation and your thoughts on any potential future changes that you might want us to consider. We're happy to hear those. Applications under the 1RD initiative will be accepted starting October 1st. We're pretty excited about that. And we are working now to train our internal staff and to make ready information and training for external lenders. I do want to talk a little bit about what those lender resources and training items are. To assist you with the 1RD implementation, we're providing training resources and continuing opportunities for input, like today and the regulation. We do have a website that is here on the screen, the www.rd.usda.gov/1RD guarantee. So bookmark that. It's live. It has links to resources and FAQs. Those FAQs are updated as we have conversations with constituents, as we host webinars and we get questions. We're constantly updating those FAQs. Later this summer, we're going to be hosting lender training We'll have videos and templates, and we will continue to build out and update all the materials we have on the website. We also have some 1RD program experts. So as you read through the regulation and you have questions, certainly if Ted is your normal contact, you can contact Ted and he can get you in contact with the experts. But we do have a mailbox set up just for questions on 1RD or comments, and that's 1RD guarantee at USDA.gov. Couldn't be any more straightforward. So 1RD guarantee, all one word, at USDA.gov. And I would encourage you to review the regulation, ask questions, take part in the trainings, file a formal comment if you have a desire to do so or have a great idea you'd like us to formally consider. As a reminder, written formal comments have to be submitted via regulations.gov, and they are due on the 14th of September. So having run RD programs and now having this opportunity to, really this is a change in the way we do business. Super excited to bring this to you on behalf of all the leaders across rural development. We have a highly engaged set of leaders who are running these programs who very much want them to reach as many people as possible. So we hope that all of these changes in around guaranteed, commercial guaranteed lending at rural development speaks to what you're looking for and expands our abilities to partner in the future. Thanks.
Thank you, Jackie. I'll now introduce Aaron Morris, who is our Assistant Deputy Administrator currently for our rural business and cooperative programs. I've also had the pleasure of working and knowing Aaron for about 15 years as well. I've known him as the director of our energy programs. I've known him as a community facilities program specialist. We've traveled together to Indian country. And like Jackie, I have a deep respect and trust for him as a colleague and as a person. The only thing I'll say about Aaron that I'm not a big fan of is that he loves the New York Yankees, and it's hard for me to forgive him that fault. But with that, Aaron Morris.
And make sure I unmute myself. Thank you, Ted. I appreciate the introduction. My Yankees aren't playing tonight. Issues with the pandemic, but that's okay. Jackie, as you all heard from Jackie with the 1RD Guarantee Program, we got a lot of work cut out for us over the next 6 to 8 weeks to be ready for October 1, but we're excited about it. Again, my name is Aaron Morris. I'm the director of our guarantee lending programs here at the Rural Business Cooperative Service, which includes the Business and Industry Guaranteed Loan Program, the Rural Energy for America Guaranteed Loan Program, the REAP program, as well as our Section 9003 program, also known as the Biorefinery Renewable Chemical and Bio-Based Product Manufacturing Assistance Program. A lot of work that we've got to do, big programs, but my most immediate priority is the B&I CARES Act program, which is what I'm going to talk to you all about today. The B&I CARES Act program was a part of the CARES Act that Congress passed, I believe in late March. USDA Rural Development, we did get some funds through the CARES Act program, about $950 million, $951 million to be exact, for business and industry CARES Act loans. And I'll talk probably on the next slide exactly what are we doing in the business and industry CARES Act loan. Next slide, please. Here we go. So B&I CARES Act loans are working capital loans only. Our traditional B&I CARES Act, our traditional B&I program, of course, covers new construction and purchases and acquisitions and things like that, and the ability for businesses to scale up. Our CARES Act program is for existing businesses. You have to be an existing business as of February 15th, 2020. And they're for working capital purposes only. So that includes payroll costs, healthcare benefits, salaries, principal and interest payments on existing debt, utilities, inventory, all of those working capital needs that you normally find in operations of a going concern. These loans have a 90% guarantee, which is different than our regular B&I program, which, by and large has a maximum of 80% loan guarantees. These loans have a maximum of 90% with a 2% guarantee fee, which is lower than our customary 3% guarantee fee. There's a new eligible loan purpose with B&I CARES Act, and that's agricultural production. This is not eligible under the regular B&I program, but under the CARES Act program, ag production is an eligible purpose. We set aside about 50% of the funds through the CARES Act for ag production. So somewhere around $475 million will be available for ag production through the CARES Act. We've changed some of our repayment terms. 10 years for working capital loans. Generally, we only allow for 7 years with working capital loans in our regular B&I program, but we've increased that to 10 years with the B&I CARES Act. We've made some changes to capital and equity requirements, which I'll discuss a little bit later. For lenders, we do not require discounting of collateral through the CARES Act program. Therefore, whatever the real estate or the equipment, whatever the market value of that equipment or real estate is, we'll be able to lend against that, the value of that real estate or equipment. We are not requiring lenders discount that collateral. And lastly, the maximum loan amount for working capital in the B&I CARES Act program is $25 million. Next slide, Ted. Eligibility, same as our regular B&I program. Of course, this includes federally recognized tribes and also, different types of for-profit businesses, which include tribal enterprises, tribal corporations, and tribal member-owned businesses. Nonprofits and cooperatives are eligible for B&I CARES Act loans, just as they are in the regular B&I program. Next slide. Eligible lenders, same as our regular B&I program, federal or state chartered banks, savings and loans banks, farm credit banks, credit unions. We do have non-regulated lenders are eligible. There is a process to go through to become a non-regulated lender in the B&I program. Be happy to go through that offline with you all if anyone is interested. Next slide. So just the type of eligible uses that I discussed a little bit earlier: wages, salaries, sales commissions, other admin expenses, insurance payments, which includes property or hazard or other business insurance, principal and interest payments on existing loans. We know a number of businesses have just run into significant cash flow issues, making it difficult to make principal and interest payments on current outstanding debt. You can use working capital loans through the B&I program to make principal and interest payments on existing debt, including existing debt if you have it with a current B&I guaranteed loan. Next slide. Other eligible uses include taxes, utilities, inventory, if you need to make purchases for inventory, as well as ag production expenses, which will include inventory. So feed, seed, fertilizer, chemicals, etc. And then marketing and shipping and other expenses incurred through normal business operations. And also some additional expenses that you might run into due to the pandemic. Next slide. Here are some ineligible loan purposes that I did go through at the beginning. Business acquisitions, something that's generally eligible in the B&I program. We're not making those purposes eligible with CARES Act. We've limited everything to working capital. So land purchases, buildings, equipment, construction, and other capital needs and expenses will not be eligible. Refinancing, we're not allowing that unless these were debts that you took on after February 15th, 2020. We will allow for some refinancing of some of those short-term debts that you took on after February 15th. But generally, refinancing of existing debt will not be allowed with CARES Act funds. Also, gaming enterprises is something that's ineligible for the B&I CARES Act loan. Next slide, Ted. So repayment terms, these are multiple draw notes. So we are only allowing businesses to draw down on the loan as much as needed on a monthly basis. Typically, lenders will advance all the funds from a loan. We're not allowing that. We're just limiting that to what's needed on a monthly basis. If you make it to the end where all funds are needed, then we're requiring those funds to be paid down on the B&I CARES Act loan. Like I said earlier, there are 10-year maximum loan terms for CARES Act. We can defer up to 3 years of principal payments. We can defer 1 year of principal and interest payments. So those first 12 months can be interest only. Well, actually, we can defer principal interest for the first 12 months. First 3 years, we can defer all of the principal. Year 4 is when we begin fully amortizing principal and interest payments with the B&I CARES Act. Next slide, Ted. The max loan amount, as I said earlier, is $25 million. The provision in our regular B&I program limits guarantors to $50 million. We do not have that provision in the B&I CARES Act program, so guarantors can exceed that $50 million limit. We are basing these loans on a cash flow analysis. So the maximum loan amount cannot be greater than the amount needed to actually cure the problems caused by the pandemic and to reestablish the business on a successful basis. We make those calculations by looking at the working capital needs over the last several years, usually the last 3 years, if that information is available. And our loan cannot exceed 12 times the borrower's total average monthly expenses or working capital expenses. And then we will subtract if the business has received any loans through other federal assistance programs that help respond to the pandemic, such as the SBA PPP loans. We will subtract the proceeds you received from those programs as a part of our maximum loan amount calculation. If you do not receive the maximum amount right away, you can come back for subsequent B&I CARES Act loans. Next slide, Ted. Capital and equity requirements. There's a 10% balance sheet equity. This is a huge change from our regular B&I program, where we require a tangible balance sheet equity in our regular B&I program. We're only looking at the balance sheet equity here in the CARES Act program. I think you might have heard Jackie mention this in her presentation. This is also going to be the case in the 1RD guaranteed loan program. There will be just a balance sheet equity test instead of a tangible balance sheet equity. So we're getting a trial run to see how this works through the CARES Act program. Balance sheet equity will can include owner contributed capital of 10% or more from total fixed assets. And the business must and can invest other funds into the project of 10% or more. So we can count incoming revenues as a part of that 10% requirement for B&I CARES Act. So not necessarily needing the 10% upfront. It could be kind of a project financed type of situation with the B&I CARES Act that we can loan against incoming revenues coming into the business. So that's a huge thing, and we think a lot of businesses will take advantage of that equity requirement. Next slide, Ted. All right, now that you know the rules, how can you apply? Applications are received from our lenders. They will be processed through our state offices. All funds are maintained here in the national office in a national reserve account. I will say we are turning these fund requests around within 24 hours. So after an application is completed and approved, our state offices are sending us a request for funds, and we are getting those funds out the very next day. Agency will consider applications in the order that they are received. So there will not be any priority points, scoring or anything like that. Once we get an application, we'll process it. Towards the end of the funding period, if there are limited funds available, we could implement a priority points type of thing, but we'll put out a notice prior to anything like that happening. But as of right now, first come, first serve for B&I CARES Act program loans. Next slide. Combining their applications. If it could be beneficial to combine a B&I CARES Act loan with a regular B&I program loan. We do allow for that. The max will be $25 million for that combined package, but that is something that we can consider at this time. Next slide, Ted. All right. Well, that concludes my presentation. Thank you for having me today. Feel free to reach out to Ted. He knows how to get to me pretty quickly. As he said, he's known me for quite a while. So please don't hesitate to reach out to Ted to get in contact with me. Or Ted, please feel free to share my contact information with anyone that's joining us on the webinar today. So thank you all for your time this afternoon. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks so much, Aaron. And I will encourage folks to get to know your state and local offices. That's where the magic happens with our programs. In the B&I program, as Aaron mentioned, our direct customer is the lender, but our staff in any given state office will know the lenders that are active. If you have an active referral for a customer that might not be able to get credit from your CDFI, you can always refer them to rural development or a B&I approved lender. And for that institutional relationship between you and rural development locally, that's who's going to be processing a rural business development grant application, for example, or an intermediary lending program application where you can get loan fund capital directly from RD through our intermediary lending program. So those state office and local office relationships are critical. And myself, Jackie, Aaron, we can all make sure we get you in contact with those right people. And it sounds like Christopher at Muskogee Fund has been actively coordinating with our staff in Oklahoma. So I hope that's the case with each of you in your local areas, but if not, we can help build those relationships. So with that, Jackson, we'll turn it back to you.
Okay, great.
For questions and answers.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you, Ted. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Aaron. So we've got a couple questions that have come in, and I think one is, could we go back to the steps in order to apply the application steps? So about 3 slides back or so. One question I think one of our folks wanted to ask was, I guess, walk us through how an application would work, and just give us a little time to read this too, maybe.
Well, I'll start and then maybe Aaron can jump in. So this is where RD receives the application from a lender. The underwriting and the loan application process is going to be between that borrower, the business, the tribal enterprise, could be the tribe itself, could be a nonprofit, and an approved B&I lender. So if they don't know who to go to, who might be a B&I approved lender, contact us. If you do, you walk through your bank door, or the business owner would walk through the bank door, and they would underwrite your loan. And if there's a need or a way to use the business and industry loan guarantee, CARES Act or traditional, to either make that loan feasible or make it more affordable, then the lender can work with rural development on that guarantee. So that's behind the scenes. That's really not between the borrower and the lender. It's between the lender and rural development. So Aaron, would you add anything to that?
Yeah, Ted, the guarantee really is a credit enhancement for the lender. Business walks into the bank's door. Hey, can I borrow $10 million over the next 10 years? Bank gives you rates and terms that you say, it doesn't really work for me. they come to USDA and say, can you all give us a 90% guarantee? And then we can extend more favorable rates and terms to our borrower. So that's really how that relationship works between agency, lender, and ultimately the borrower.
Great, thanks. And another question, I think, and comment is related to what our board member Christopher Coburn noted. And it reminds me actually of some of the challenges we faced with the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP, a program that was really well-intentioned and hopefully supposed to help native CDFIs provide loans. But when it came to implementation, a lot of native CDFIs were not able to participate as lenders because the program requirements were rigid and they mandated, they were more favorable to larger loan institutions and other institutions that are federally regulated. And so I'm thinking as we put together our comments for the 1RD, I think we want to make sure that native CDFIs are eligible to participate as lenders. And I think that would really go a long way, not only for the native CDFIs, but also for really for our ultimate customers who are out there in rural America. And I guess that's more of a comment, but I think that's something that we wanted to flag. And I guess related to that, one question we had is how would a CDFI go about becoming a lender for, say, the B&I CARES Act program?
Yeah, so there's two things to keep in mind when it comes to become an approved B&I guaranteed lender. A, there's a process in place currently, and that was on one of the slides for how a non-regulated lender would become an approved B&I lender, but that's going to change on September 30th. And from my experience, and anyone on the phone can correct me, to date, there are no non-regulated native CDFI B&I approved lenders. I'm aware of some non-regulated, non-native CDFIs who've become B&I approved lenders and have indeed partnered with native CDFIs on transactions. But the existing regulation is challenging. I think there's an opportunity, and I would argue that the window has been opened wider, especially for B&I and REAP, which are going to be smaller loans than the community facilities and water environmental programs for non-regulated lenders with the 1RD guarantee, which goes into effect on October 1st. And that would give another year of opportunity for any B&I approved lender to provide those CARES Act funding, which once again don't expire till September 30th of the following year. So I guess I have a two-part challenge. One, challenge us through the formal comment period to with any suggestions you might have on how we can improve those sections on non-regulated lenders in the rule. And no matter what the rule goes in place, if a CDFI, native or otherwise, wants to become a non-regulated lender, make a run at the process. And I can be there as a resource. I can't do the application for you, but I can be there as a resource and help you with our local staff and with conversations with our national office, with Aaron and our leadership in our rural business program. So Jackie or Aaron, would you like to add anything to either of those points?
Ted, I actually think you did a pretty good job covering that. I do think there will be some opportunities with the 1RD program, probably expanded opportunities for non-regulated lenders. I think we've probably eased the requirements some. Would that be accurate, Jackie? For a non-regulated lender to participate. And so, I think the comment period is important. Jackson, I think you made reference to making sure you submit, comments to address any concerns that you may see in the regulation that was released last month. But the way I interpret it, I think there will be some expanded opportunities. So I'm actually looking forward to that.
Great.
Well, I'll chime in real quick and just highlight a lot of native CDFIs were tasked with idle and PPP activity, but even with lowering of SBA's requirement threshold, they put a minimum size of 10 million in assets. And most native CDFIs are under 3 million, some are even smaller, but otherwise are financially sound. So I just want that to be a mindful thing. If you're creating something, people that could be very useful as partners, don't make the threshold so high that we can't hit it until some point in the very distant future.
Great, thanks. I think you might be muted, Jackie.
Jackie, I think you're on mute.
Oh, I'm just talking away. Can you hear?
Yep.
So we're basically fishermen for the big banks, right?
I don't know that I would agree with that.
Okay, well,
Yeah, Ted. Oh, go
how
ahead,
many
Ted.
native CDFIs are B&I lenders?
Well, Native American Bank is
again,
one, and go ahead, Jackie. There are
So
regulated
here's what I'd like to
lenders.
do.
Go ahead, Jackie.
Yeah.
And I'm comfortable with Ted's pushing and know him, so I'm happy to speak to him as well.
So here's how I like to look at life, right? I'm a half full kind of gal, half glass, half full. And so we are shifting the way we operate in and around guarantees. Does it fit everything you want it to be? I don't know. We've had listening sessions over the last year and a half and opportunities for input. Hopefully, some of those voices were brought in, but if it doesn't meet it, we're still here to listen. I think it's different than what you've seen. If it's not enough, we certainly want to make sure there are opportunities for native lenders in this process. We're happy to have those discussions going forward. And the tribal liaison function sits in my shop.
What is my opportunity as a native lender for the B&I CARES Act? I mean, it looks like I can't lend. I can't I cannot be a B&I CARES Act lender, right?
I would offer two things, Ted. Today, you could not.
Okay, thank you.
Tomorrow is another day. Anyone on this call could start the process of becoming a non-regulated lender now. And I'm also sort of a half glass something. It's half empty and it's half full. I can hold both of those in my mind at the same time. And my comments were true and sincere in that there are no non-regulated native CDFIs in the B&I program today. There are regulated lenders, tribally owned banks, and at least one native CDFI that's a regulated lender that's a user of this program. And because the horizon for B&I CARES Act stretches out another 13 months, I'm the type of person that has doggedness and wants to jump at those opportunities as they arise. And with the onset of the 1RD guarantee rule, I don't know if the window has been more open in the past. It's open a little wider. So the point of today's webinar was to seed some of those thoughts, to get your emotions up, Ted, and to hopefully take advantage of the opportunity. So today, and another thing I'll add, and I have deep respect for you, Mr. Piccolo, but the other thing I'll add is you could also do leveraged loans. Your customer could be a non-regular or a non-native CDFI. Your customer could benefit from a lower interest rate loan directly from your CDFI and a leveraged B&I CARES Act loan or regular B&I CARES Act loan from a non-CDFI. So there's ways where you might be able to make the deal affordable tomorrow, even if you're not an approved guaranteed lender.
Is it something in the future that there might be, or is the window still open to do, I wouldn't say a set aside, but a program just for native CDFIs?
Well, we have two of those programs within our business programs, which many of you've been customers of. The Rural Business Development Grant has about a $4 million set aside for projects that benefit tribal members of federally recognized tribes. And then the IRP, Intermediary Lending Program, also has a set aside, and that's been a bit more of a challenge. And we've done some outreach through Oweesta and NCN in the past on those programs. B&I could have a similar carve out. All of those set asides have been historically legislatively mandated. We have not done those set asides administratively. So,
so is it too late in the game right now to get that done for this period?
Right.
I'll defer to Jackie, but I mean, the CARES Act is done. There is additional legislation that's being formed. So I don't know what that's going to look like, and I can't advocate for that, but Appropriations Act happens every year. And that's where the set asides are for IRP and RBDG are an annual appropriation. So we don't have an annual appropriation for 2021 yet in either of those programs or for the regular B&I program. So in my mind, anything's possible, but you all know how the sausage is made. That's not my business.
You know, the challenge that we have as native CDFIs is the scale that we operate in is much smaller than the non-native CDFI world. So, you know, bringing something down to where the benchmarks and the thresholds for us to have entry isn't so high that it prohibits our participation in it. So that's what we would be a great opportunity for native CDFIs if we could lower those or have a set aside of some sort.
So here's the favor I'm going to ask you. If you could take a look at the regulation, see if we do, if you really think there needs to be a separate section in the regulation specific to native CDFIs, put that in writing through the formal comment process. It's something that wouldn't go into effect October 1st because we'd have to, you know, issue an addendum to the regulation and go through that process. But I can commit to you to look at it and to consider that. I mean, this is a dialogue, so we want to continue with it. So happy to take a look at that and talk it through, see what we can do.
Okay, that's fair. Thank you.
Welcome.
Well, thank you, everybody. We're running up right against our time limit, but definitely really appreciate Ted Bulow for bringing us together and all the USDA team, Jackie. And I want to see if Crystal Langholz, who helped facilitate this and was jointly partnered with us on this, has any thoughts from Oweesta before we sign off.
No, just gratitude for all of our partners for joining this conversation. I do think, you know, this is the dream, right? In some ways, to have streamlined access to multiple guarantee programs at one time. Now I'm like, oh, can we get BIA and you guys can streamline up there too? I mean, there's a lot of potential there, and so we appreciate you taking the time to have the dialogue with us around how we can make sure that native CDFIs are included. So yeah, thanks to you all. It was so good to see many of your faces today.
All right, well, great. Well, thanks. And I want to see if our chairman, Pete Upton, has any other words. And I guess one other thing, we'll coordinate with our members on submitting these comments. And if you have specific recommendations, please, yeah, don't hesitate to reach out. I think these are good comments, and as I stated earlier, well-intentioned programs sometimes have missed the mark for native CDFIs, and we want to make sure that we take advantage of every opportunity to make sure that we don't do that again. But Pete, do you have any final words?
I'd just like to thank Ted, Aaron, Crystal, and Jackie for bringing everybody together today, and you, Jackson. This is good stuff, and I love working with the USDA in our state of Nebraska. So we have a good relationship with the state office, and But I will take you up on that, Jackie. We will put something together on that. I think it's important for native CDFIs to have an entry point that's maybe just a little bit lower. So I will take you up on that, but I appreciate your time and information today. Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Thanks, everybody. And
Thank
don't
you all.
forget to fill out the native CDFI's NCN's poll. That should be in your email.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
So everyone, have a great weekend. Appreciate it,
Yeah.
Jackson. Thanks, Pete.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Ted Piccolo. Bye-bye.